Hi, welcome to MentoMind. Today I'm going to show you how to get started as a student. So the first thing you see on the screen is once you have logged in, you can see there is a list of all the things that you can do on the platform. There is a small help section that guides you through the functionality of each of these features. So I click on next. It talks about what my actions are. So this is your actions tab. So everything that you need to do next is listed here. The next is the learn section. So this is where you learn each topic and practice questions for that. Then you have the list of practice tests that you can take. This is the vocabulary builder. This is where you see all the different flashcards for words and their meanings. The next is the challenge. So this is where you can challenge your friend or challenge your AI companion, play a quiz and be competitive and have fun. Learning library is where you can find all your learning material for each topic, the videos, all the tips and tricks of solving the questions faster and all that. And finally, we have the review list. This is where you can see all the questions that you have marked for review. So for example, if you are stuck on a problem and you don't know how to solve it, you can mark for review. And if you have a tutor, you can ask those questions to your tutor. So let's look into the action list. So the first thing which you see here is an initial diagnostic test. So any student who starts on the platform, they are encouraged to take the initial diagnostic test. So I can click on start test. And you can see this is a full-length diagnostic test for the SAT. So you get the initial reading and writing section. You can see this is the test report. And it gives you your overall score range. So for example, it says 830 to 850 is the score range. This is your reading and writing score. This is the math score. And it also shows how well you have done on the module 1 to get a easier or a hard module 2. And then also you can click on the next actions. That means if you just click on go, it's going to show you what the next things to do to improve your skills. But before we go there, let's look into the breakdown of the performance. So for example, section 1, module 1, reading and writing. This is how I have performed. So for example, it shows the performance on easy, medium and hard questions. It also breaks down the performance across topics. So you can see that I have a few wrong in the inferences type of topic. And then also at the bottom, it shows you the time taken on each question. And so overall pacing performance. Now what I can do is I can simply just start practicing from here. So the report is not only showing me the information of how I did, what I did, but then also let me practice. So for example, I know that this inference is not my strongest topic. So I'm going to just click on practice and it takes me to my learning path for that topic, right? So it shows me that I'm somewhere between beginner and intermediate, maybe closer to the intermediate level. And if I continue practice, it's going to help me improve my skills and get me to the intermediate and to the advanced and to the mastery level. So the report guides me through what my next steps are. But if I don't go into the report, the same thing can be here in the action list. So in the action list, it shows me, okay, these are the next 2 things that I need to do based on the test I took. So for example, it shows me text structure and purpose. My goal for this week is to get to the intermediate level. So I'm currently at the beginner level or somewhere between the beginner and intermediate level. And my goal is to get to the intermediate level. Similarly, for math section, percentages is where I need to get to the intermediate level. Now, once I complete any of these or both of these, system will automatically give me the next set of items. So that's how it keeps me assigning me stuff and I just continue to improve my skills. So if I go back to the report, the other thing which I want to show is the detailed report. So once you have seen how the performance is, let's get into the detail of exactly what I did, how I did on each of the questions, right? So you can see this is section 1, module 1, which is the reading and writing. And you can see on each question how long I took to solve the question. It's an easy question here, for example, craft and structure, words in context, and then what is the subtopic, the vocabulary I used for sentence completion. So it really gives me that precise information about what kind of questions I'm getting wrong or right, and what do I need to practice more. So as you can see, I can just jump to the question number 16 because that's the one which I have answered wrong. So I click on that. It shows me I took 48 seconds and answered it wrong. And then it also shows me the right answer, the explanation, and the distracted explanation. That means why the other options are not the right answer and why, in this case, choice B is the right answer. So this is one way I can analyze the report and take the next action. The other thing which I can do is I can filter. I can say, okay, show me everything where I have taken more than 2 minutes to solve. So it shows me 2 questions where I took more than a lot of time. And even though I answered some of the questions correctly, but I still took wrong to solve those questions. So I may need to use some strategies to solve them faster. The other thing you see here is this AI companion that's available. So the AI companion to get into the details of how can I improve this, or maybe I don't understand the explanation. I can ask for a better explanation or a more detailed explanation about this question. And I can also practice another question like this one. The AI companion goes into the question bank and brings a similar question for me to practice. All right, so I'm going to go out from here. So as I said, if you go to the action list is automatically updated with the next set of items. And I can just continue practice from here. Now moving to the learn section. So the learn section is, if I want to do extra practice, maybe I want to practice a particular topic. So here's a list of all the topics that are tested on the SAT. Similarly for math here. And as you can notice, each of these boxes show my current level. So it shows me that command of evidence, for example, I am at the advanced level. Similarly, inferences, I'm at the advanced level. But central ideas and details, I'm at the beginner level. So if I click on it, it shows me that I'm at the beginner level. There is a topic guide that's there. So I can open the topic guide, understand what this topic is all about, what kind of questions that appear on the SAT, what's an easy question looks like, what's a hard question looks like, what are the strategies to solve the questions or solve the questions faster. So all that information is available in this guide, and you can launch the guide from here. But if I say continue practice, it starts giving me those practice questions in a set of 5. And as I continue to solve these questions, I'd improve my skill levels and I slowly move towards from beginner to intermediate, from intermediate to advanced, and then to the master level. So it's truly adaptive practice, and it always gives you the questions that are around your skill level. So that's how you use the learn section, again, to independently practice something which you want to do separate to what the system assigned to you or your tutor assigned to you. You can use the learn section to learn more. Similarly, we have the practice tests. So these are the full length. So there's a mini practice test, but then everything else is a full length practice test. And you can take the test and you can look at your score. And once you've taken the test, the system automatically adjusts the next set of items for you through this actions list. Then we have the vocabulary builder. So this is the list of words in the form of flashcards. So if I want to improve my vocabulary, for example, say I pick up the vocabulary set 3 and I want to say, okay, learn all. It starts giving me those words and I can just flip the card to understand the meaning, to learn the meaning. So I can just do it for each word. And once I am confident that, yes, I now remember the meaning of these words, so then I can ask the system to test me for these words. So for example, within this set, I can say there are like 50 words. So test me for all the 50 words within like 10 minutes. So I can say, okay, give me a test that tests me for all the 50 words in 10 minutes. So I can start, creates a test for me, and then it starts asking me questions. For example, it says, okay, what's the meaning of the word subordinate, and I can just say this is the right answer. Then the other question can be, okay, this is the passage, and fill in the blank, right? So which word out of this list is the most logical and precise to be used to fill the blank? So this is how the system is testing me, not only for the meanings of the words, but the proper usage. So that's how the vocabulary builder is designed. And so there are around 700 plus words put into flashcard sets. So each flashcard has like 50 words that I can practice. The next is the challenge. So challenge is where I can play a quiz or challenge my AI companion or challenge my friend and play a quiz. And this is another way for me as a student to practice questions, more of those type where I need more practice. So system knows the questions that I need to practice more, and it just gives me that in a fun quiz kind of environment. Then we have the learning library. This is where all the learning material is available. The learning guides I was showing you earlier, these are all available here also. And then also it gives you a little bit more information about the math section on the SAT and the reading and writing section on the SAT. So independent of the topic, it just gives you a general idea of what those sections look like. And finally, the review list, as mentioned earlier, this is where I can add questions that I'm not able to solve or not able to solve in time. And if I have a tutor, I can ask those questions, or I can just have these questions in my review list so that I can review them before the actual exam. So this is how the student view works. If you have any question, please reach out to the support team. Thank you so much.